She once graced the red carpet beside Kevin Costner, the picture of glamour and elegance, the woman everyone wanted to know more about. But when their high-profile marriage came to an end, she didn't chase headlines, she disappeared from the spotlight entirely. For years, fans were left wondering, where did she go? What became of the woman who once shared the Hollywood stage with one of cinema's biggest stars? Now, the answer is here, and it's shocking. Her reappearance has stunned everyone. Stronger, bolder, and more radiant than ever, she's no longer just remembered as Kevin Costner's ex, she's a force in her own right. Her transformation will leave you speechless, and her story proves that sometimes the most powerful comeback begins in silence. Long before the Oscar wins, Hollywood stardom, and front-page headlines, Kevin Costner was simply a small-town dreamer with a spark in his heart and no roadmap to fame. Born on January 18, 1955, in Linwood, California, Kevin was raised in nearby Compton in a modest, hard-working household. His mother, Sharon, was a welfare worker, while his father, William, started as an electrician before rising to become a utilities executive. Though they lived without luxury, the Costner home was rich in discipline, faith, and quiet determination. Kevin was the youngest of 3 boys, though tragedy struck early when one of his brothers died at birth. His roots were deeply American, woven from German, English, Irish, Scottish, Welsh, and Cherokee ancestry, and he was raised Baptist, singing in the church choir with the same quiet intensity that would one day captivate millions. Kevin wasn't the kid voted most likely to succeed, but he had grit, curiosity, and a restless soul. He played baseball and football with passion, dabbled in poetry, took piano lessons, and nurtured a creative energy that set him apart. But the turning point came when he watched how the West was won as a child. The raw beauty of the frontier, the courage, the silence between gunshots, it spoke to something deep inside him. That single moment planted a seed of obsession with westerns, storytelling, and legacy. It wasn't fame he chased at first, it was that feeling of vast possibility. And as it turns out, that feeling would carry Kevin Costner far beyond the fields of Compton, straight into the heart of American cinema. As Kevin Costner's father climbed the corporate ladder, the family moved frequently throughout California, uprooting Kevin's adolescence and placing him in a revolving door of high schools, from Ventura to Visalia, and ultimately Villa Park, where he graduated in 1973. He remained committed to baseball, playing with such intensity that one of his teammates eventually made it to the pros. Still, the Hollywood dream hadn't entered his mind yet. At that point, Costner was grounded in reality, more focused on earning a living than chasing the spotlight. But that would all change, not in a theater, but on a flight. In 1978, Costner earned a business degree from California State University, Fullerton. It was during his final year that something stirred within him, a sudden pull toward performance, expression, and storytelling. That quiet inner voice grew louder after a fateful encounter on a return flight from Puerto Vallarta. Seated near him was none other than legendary actor Richard Burton. Kevin mustered the courage to ask him a question that would haunt him: can you be a successful actor without sacrificing your personal life? Burton, with the weight of experience in his voice, replied that yes, it was possible. For Kevin, that moment was a lightning strike. He returned home with new fire in his veins. Determined to carve out a future in film, he briefly took a job in marketing, only to quit after a single month. With the full backing of his first wife, Cindy, Kevin threw himself headfirst into the grind. He worked any job that would keep the lights on while he pursued acting classes. He gave celebrity home tours to tourists, worked on commercial fishing boats, drove trucks through Southern California, anything that bought him time to chase the dream. It wasn't glamorous. It wasn't easy. But it was the beginning of a transformation, from business graduate to future Hollywood icon. He put his all into nighttime auditions and managed to make it work in any way he could. In 1981, he starred in his first motion picture, Blink and You'll Miss It, in Sizzle Beach, USA. However, things began to improve gradually. He got small parts in movies like Testament and Night Shift. Additionally, even though his scenes were removed from The Big Chill, his relationship with director Lawrence Kasdan would eventually prove to be extremely beneficial. He was cast by Kasdan in the western Silverado, which turned out to be Kevin's breakthrough performance. He began establishing himself as a charismatic, tough, leading guy the same year while starring in American Flyers and Fandango. Costner achieved official success by 1987. His portrayal of Eliot Ness in The Untouchables and his breakthrough role in No Way Out made him a household name overnight. He then became a bankable romantic hero, particularly when baseball was involved, thanks to the one-two punch of Bull Durham and Field of Dreams. But in 1990, he took his biggest risk. Dances with Wolves, a sprawling Western epic that stunned Hollywood by becoming an enormous blockbuster both artistically and economically, was directed and featured him. Costner won 7 Oscars, including Best Director and Best Picture, out of a total of 12 nominations. He was no longer merely a celebrity. He was powerful. The hits kept coming after that. JFK, Prince of Thieves, Robin Hood, and the wildly successful The Bodyguard starring Whitney Houston. For a while, Costner seemed to have an endless supply of projects to choose from. However, there are ups and downs for even Hollywood royalty. Misfires like Waterworld and The Postman, which he directed, were released in the mid-1990s. Audiences were unimpressed, and critics jumped in. Costner, however, was not down for long. With films like The Upside of Anger, where his poignant performance garnered some of the highest accolades of his career, and Open Range, a popular western that he both directed and starred in, he was able to regain his footing. He reminded everyone that he is still magnetic when given the correct stuff. Then, in 2012, Kevin made a significant shift to television with the gritty miniseries Hatfields and McCoys, which was a huge hit on the History Channel. He won an Emmy, a Golden Globe, and a Screen Actors Guild Award for the role. He went one step further in 2018 with Yellowstone, a contemporary Western drama that has grown to be one of the most popular TV programs. As John Dutton, a rancher, Costner has expanded his acting repertoire to include a whole new generation. However, let's just say that Costner hasn't been fortunate in that area, despite having some really amazing acting range when it comes to relationships and finally marriages. Inside the complicated romantic life of Kevin Costner. For millions of admirers, Kevin Costner is the tough yet endearing hero of The Bodyguard, Dances with Wolves, and, more lately, Yellowstone's sulky patriarch. Behind that calm, collected on-screen image, however, is a far from tranquil private life. Costner, who is now 70, has experienced more than his share of heartache, drama, and scandal. He has also been married twice and fathered 7 children with 3 different women. His second wife, Christine Baumgartner, filed for divorce after 18 years of marriage and 3 children together, shocking fans. Christine left what many believe to be a strong Hollywood union at the age of 49. It wasn't Costner's first time, though. For decades, his romantic life has been in the news. Costner's college love, Cindy Silva, existed long before Yellowstone and even The Bodyguard. The two were married in 1978, when he was still having trouble making a name for himself in Hollywood. Cindy was right at Costner's side as his career took off, raising their 3 kids, Annie, Lily, and Joe, and even joining him on Dances with Wolves. However, 16 years later, their ostensibly ideal marriage fell apart. After the couple divorced in 1994, accusations of infidelity erupted in the press. Rumors circulated that Costner had an affair while filming Waterworld, notably with a Hawaiian hula dancer. Although the rumors were never verified, the harm had already been done. Cindy, according to People magazine, had had enough of the rumors and was fed up with them. Despite not directly responding to the accusations of cheating, the parties' joint statement conveyed a sense of decorum. "We have amicably resolved all issues regarding our children and financial affairs, and a full marital settlement has been reached," it stated. As they processed what they described as a difficult period in our lives, they also requested seclusion. But friendly did not equate to inexpensive. One of the most costly separation in Hollywood history, the divorce reportedly cost Costner an incredible $80 million. Nevertheless, he left with joint custody of the children, and they both made an effort to keep their family together. The drama didn't stop there, either. Costner was embroiled in yet another romance scandal just 2 years after he and Cindy parted ways. This time with Bridget Rooney, a socialite and the niece of Dan Rooney, the owner of the Pittsburgh Steelers. Although their romance was short-lived, it had a profound impact. Rooney became pregnant with Liam, their son, in 1996. Costner apparently requested a paternity test to be certain because he wasn't immediately certain he was the father. People said the test validated Rooney's pre-existing knowledge. He had Liam. "I am absolutely certain who the father is," she told the New York Times at the time. "I'm simply relishing my pregnancy." According to reports, Costner tried to be involved in Liam's life and established a substantial trust fund for him after the findings were in. However, several pointed out that the visits weren't really consistent. Liam, who is currently in his 20s, has maintained a low profile. He is apparently avoiding the craziness of Hollywood that characterized his childhood by working as a real estate agent. Off-screen, Costner's love life tells a much messier and more interesting story than his on-screen persona as the all-American hero. His marriage to Christine Baumgartner Costner and the whirlwind marriage between the two were the most exciting to date. Kevin Costner finally appeared to regain his feet again after recovering from an expensive divorce and the entire ugly paternity scandal, particularly in the romantic realm. As he was getting ready for his part in Tin Cup in 1996, he noticed Christine Baumgartner, a model with a stunning appearance and a quiet charm, on a golf course. At the time, it wasn't love at first sight. Although their paths didn't intersect very often, it was obvious that fate still had plans for them. When they reconnected at a restaurant 2 years later, something clicked this time. In an interview, Costner recounted that following their encounter, they swapped phone numbers and he asked her if he may call her in 2 weeks. He chuckled that he was unaware that a call that was so late could be interpreted as offensive. Christine didn't seem to be upset with him. Before they encountered a significant obstacle, the couple dated for almost 4 years. Christine desired children of her own, and Costner was already a father to 4. That turned into a source of contention that neither could avoid. In an interview with Parade, Costner would later acknowledge that he had not married her because of fear. Although he wasn't sure he could dedicate himself to being a good father once more, Christine made it apparent that she wanted a child. Because he was too scared to say yes to having more children, he recalled waking up one day and realizing that he might lose the woman who was willing to be with him till the end of time. He eventually changed his mind. In 2004, the couple exchanged vows in a stunning ceremony at Costner's property in Colorado. With the arrival of their 3 children, Caden, Hayes, and Grace, the couple began a new chapter of home bliss. Costner enjoyed being a hands-on father in spite of his initial reservations. He clarified in a People interview from 2022 that he didn't lead the typical life of a Hollywood star. When not filming, he was with Christine on the expressway, twiddling his thumbs like any other father while driving the kids to their events or waiting outside for them to conclude a party. He was clear that he was not the center of the world. But the fractures had already begun to appear behind that idyllic family life. After 18 years of marriage, Christine filed for divorce in May 2023, bringing everything to a crashing halt. Only a few months prior, they had made their farewell public appearance together on the red carpet at the Oscars in March. Costner's representatives issued a carefully worded statement after the split was made public. The marriage had ended due to circumstances that were out of his control. As he, Christine, and the kids went through what they described as a trying period, they requested privacy. Rumors circulated behind that comment, though. According to reports, Costner was caught utterly unprepared for the divorce. Page 6 cited sources that said he had been caught off guard. He would have taken Christine back if he had the opportunity, and it seems like he didn't want the divorce. People close to him saw him as a deeply wounded man who still loved his wife. What went wrong, then? What caused the collapse of this golden couple with their lovely family and big Colorado estate? According to their close friends, the problems weren't unexpected. For years, they had been constructing. Conflicts over careers topped the list. Costner was consumed by his work on Yellowstone. According to reports, Christine got sick of constantly coming in second because the program required all of his attention. Kevin's commitment to his family appeared to wane as his profession took a turn for the worst. Some claimed that he grew more aloof from the routine of the home and more possessive of his projects. Christine, on the other hand, desired more from her husband than hurried phone calls from a set and red carpets. Another sensitive spot was money. They were at odds about how to manage their family's money, according to several stories. After divorce papers were filed, asking a sizable sum for child support and Christine's personal maintenance, the situation became even more severe. Although it appeared to be a normal Hollywood split from the outside, it was actually a classic breakdown of communication, values, and priorities. Then there's the chance that the spark just waned over time. They might have simply begun to see the future in a different way, as is the case with many couples in the spotlight. Once-aligned couples in Hollywood frequently wake up and decide they no longer desire the same life. Legal disputes arose following the filing of the divorce papers. Christine contested the prenuptial agreement and wanted large amounts for the children's upkeep. However, Costner insisted that he was already meeting all of his family's financial commitments. As one of the most talked about issues in 2023 was Costner's divorce, the court hearings garnered a lot of media interest. In the end, the court decided that since Kevin owned the house before they were married, Christine had to vacate it. The court upheld Costner's demands about the amount of alimony after reviewing it as well. Following the formal divorce, Kevin concentrated on his business and kept working on new projects, such as movies in which he served as both producer and director. In turn, Christine started a new phase of her life, concentrating on her own endeavors and kids. Despite the difficulties and scandals surrounding the divorce, both parties made an effort to keep cordial contact for the benefit of the kids. The lady behind the star. Christine Baumgartner is who? Despite being married to one of Hollywood's biggest performers for almost 20 years, Christine Baumgartner has always had her own interests. Born on March 4, 1974, she's 19 years more youthful than Kevin Costner and in no way simply the lady standing subsequent to the main man. Lengthy earlier than the purple carpets and courtrooms, Christine knew the way to work a camera. Within the 80s, she kicked off her profession as a model. Striking poses would possibly have come evidently, however Christine wasn't just another quiet face. She became all about business, literally. She earned a diploma in commercial enterprise from California Kingdom College, Fullerton, and made sure it paid off. Christine launched her own luxury handbag line, Cat Bag Couture, which was a first-rate hit in the mid-2000s. Her fashion-forward computer luggage were not just stylish, they were Hollywood-approved. They even landed a niche on Desperate Housewives, which at the time became the closing stamp of pop culture relevance. At the same time as her husband became off filming westerns and bodyguarding Whitney Houston, Christine turned into busy constructing her personal emblem. She wasn't just backstage, both. She had a flavor of the highlight, too. She made appearances on Inside Edition, Amusement Tonight, and Live from the Pink Carpet. However, in case you're seeking out Christine online, don't hassle. Not like Kevin, who updates enthusiasts on FB, Twitter, and Instagram, Christine has absolutely stayed off social media. No filters, no captions, no likes, simply silence. And genuinely, that most effective adds to her mystique. Even though Christine isn't always keen on the net, in January this 12 months, she broke the net. Divorced, now not defeated. How Kevin's ex reclaimed the spotlight. Kevin Costner's ex-wife, Christine Baumgartner, is formally off the marketplace. The 51-12-months-old purse dressmaker simply were given engaged to her boyfriend of over a year, Josh Connor. And here's the twist. He's not simply everybody. He's one among Kevin's former buddies. Shocking, right? The notion came about on January 26 right on the seashore in Santa Barbara. It became one of those almost best moments. A typhoon turned into brewing. The seashore became nearly empty. And just because the clouds collected, Josh dropped to one knee. A source informed humans it felt like something out of a movie. Poetic, personal, and flawlessly timed. Christine said yes. Their friends were not exactly bowled over. The two had simply spent Christmas collectively in Big Apple, where their love tale apparently kicked off. In keeping with insiders, they are over the moon and can't wait to begin this subsequent bankruptcy together. But this engagement did not pop out of nowhere. Christine and Josh had been quietly building something for a while, lengthy before they ever went public. Paparazzi first caught them looking secure lower back in December outside Top Chef winner Harold Dieterle's hot new spot Il Totano within the West Village. They have been all smiles with Josh shielding Christine from the rain with an umbrella like a scene immediately out of a rom-com. However, behind the beauty, an internet of past connections. Right here's where matters get even messier. Josh wasn't only a few random man Christine met after her divorce. He was their neighbor, the fellow next door when Christine and Kevin were nevertheless married. And whilst the couple cut up after 18 years collectively in might also 2023, Josh's name began shooting up in all the wrong locations, no longer simply in rumors, but in court. All through a heated child guide hearing in August, Christine's attorney insisted that she and Josh have been simply friends and not anything more. That turned into once they were spotted vacationing collectively in Hawaii along with her and Kevin's 3 children, no much less. Caden, 17, Hayes, 15, and Style, 14, have been all on that tropical getaway. However, months later, Christine and Josh have been photographed protecting arms. By January 2024, the cat changed into officially out of the bag. One in every of their friends confirmed the relationship, including that it had started out as a friendship and blossomed into something else. They share the identical values. The source advised people, Christine feels so happy and supported. They are in love and this engagement simply feels just like the herbal next step. Meanwhile, Kevin's nook of the tale hasn't exactly been a fairy tale. The Yellowstone famous person changed into reportedly suspicious approximately Christine and Josh long before they went public. Although he has never commented on their dating, insiders said he had an intestine feeling something become brewing. And judging via how rapid things moved after the divorce and the way close Josh were to the couple, it is now not hard to look why. Whilst their divorce wrapped up last year, Costner became ordered to pay Christine $63.29 in line with month in child guide. And whilst Christine appears to be shifting on, sparkling, engaged, and doing simply first class, Kevin hasn't precisely had it easy. From ongoing tension round Yellowstone to non-public dramas making tabloid rounds, it is like his real life has become messier than any role he has ever played on display screen. Christine, then again, appears to be having a 2D act no one saw coming, and she's doing it her way. Ring, romance, and all. The lawsuit towards Kevin Costner. Costner is no stranger to controversy, however 2023 added a whole new degree of heat. The 70 to 12 months antique actor and director is now dealing with a sexual harassment lawsuit from a stunt performer who claims she was compelled to act out a violent unscripted rape scene at the set of Horizon and American Saga Bankruptcy 2. The alleged scene happened without caution, without consent, and without a legally required intimacy coordinator gift, a widespread now taken into consideration mandatory on expert movie sets. The stunt woman, Devon Labella, has labored on excessive profile initiatives like Barbie and Yellow Jackets. She's suing for an undisclosed quantity and is demanding attribution by using jury. In a declaration to The Hollywood Reporter, she failed to preserve back. She said she became left uncovered, unprotected, and deeply betrayed via a machine that promised protection and professionalism. In keeping with the lawsuit filed in California, she turned into appearing as the stunt double for Ella Hunt while she became told immediate to carry out a violent unscripted rape scene on an open set, which means absolutely everyone could walk in and watch. Labella is suing no longer Best Costner, but additionally the production organizations behind Horizon along with 10 other unnamed individuals. Costner's attorney, Marty Singer, got here out swinging in protection, calling the claim virtually false and insisting that Costner constantly prioritizes on-set safety. In a statement to Enterprise Insider, Singer said, our patron Kevin Costner usually desires to ensure that everyone is cozy running on his movies and takes protection on set very significantly. It is no longer the primary time horizon has drawn interest, though. Originally, it was intended to be for artistic reasons. Costner is deeply invested in this Western film collection, which he co-wrote, produced, directed, and stars in. Set all through the Civil Warfare and overlaying a span of 15 years, the saga became supposed to be a passion project. But as an alternative, it is turning into the center of a special sort of storm and no longer the first in Costner's profession. Water Global, the now notorious 1995 put-up-apocalyptic movement film that nearly drowned his career. Costner produced, starred in, and later took over directing responsibilities after innovative tensions exploded on set. The movie set in a future where Earth is flooded and dryland is a delusion, ballooned into one of the most costly movies ever made on the time, reportedly costing $175 million. From the start, it turned into plagued through catastrophe. Costner became injured at some stage in a stunt. A hurricane destroyed one of the primary sets and production delays spiraled out of manage. Costner even installed $22 million of his very own cash to hold the mission afloat. Whilst it finally hit theaters, critics had been cruel. The movie became slammed for its uneven tone, bloated budget, and messy storytelling. Although it ultimately recouped a number of its cost foreign places, Waterworld became branded a Hollywood disaster. The backlash hit Costner difficult. His subsequent directorial attempt, The Postman, became every other flop, earning him razzies for Worst Actor and Worst Director. It seemed like Costner couldn't catch a break, and his as soon as golden career started to slide into a protracted, quiet downturn. Satirically, his in-advance directorial debut were a triumph. Dances with Wolves, launched in 1990, won 7 Academy Awards, which include Nice Picture and Excellent Director for Costner. It changed into praised for supplying a more respectful, nuanced portrayal of local American life, than preceding westerns. Costner became even embraced through the Lakota Sioux tribe, whose participants seemed inside the film and supported its vision. However, that goodwill didn't ultimate. 5 years later, the Big Apple Times pronounced that the Lakota Sioux felt betrayed with the aid of Costner after he proposed constructing an online casino, golf path, and luxury hotel on sacred land in Deadwood, South Dakota. Although he supplied to exchange a 600-acre plot of land close by as a concession, the tribe resisted. Costner and his brother Dan did end up obtaining land, 1,000 acres to be precise, but the Grand Hotel in no way came to existence. Instead, in 2013, the land turned into put up for sale for $14 million. One more piece of fallout still lingers. Costner is in a years-long felony dispute with the sculptor he commissioned to create a big bronze piece for the failed hotel. The project collapsed, but the legal conflict keeps. And then there's the Stephen Baldwin fiasco. Inside the wake of the 2010 Deepwater Horizon oil spill, Costner located himself in court once more, this time accused of defrauding First Earl Baldwin of Bewdley and his business accomplice, Spirit Entouries. The two claimed Costner had secretly closed a money-making cope with BP for oil-water separation era, a product evolved by using Costner's organization simply before they offered off their shares. They sued for $17 million in damages, arguing they were misled and cheated out of a providence. However, after a 2-week trial, the jury sided with Costner. First Earl Baldwin of Bewdley and Contiguries walked away with nothing. Nonetheless, the case stored Costner's name in the headlines for all the incorrect reasons. And now, as Horizon Bankruptcy 2 faces backlash, felony scrutiny, and public outrage, Costner unearths himself yet again fighting to protect his popularity, not as a main man or a visionary director, however, because the powerful parent at the middle of a more and more messy and disturbing lawsuit. LaBella's accusations are serious. She's now not just alleging breach of settlement or terrible behavior. She's accusing Costner's crew of revealing her to emotional trauma and violating legal requirements meant to defend performers throughout intimate or violent scenes. And the fact that it occurred on an open set where every body could watch handiest makes the allegations greater chilling. It is not pretty much Costner's actions. It is about what became allowed to appear under his management. The query now is not whether Costner can recover artistically. It's whether the public and the industry will continue to aid someone with this type of lengthy trail of controversies behind him. He as soon as rode excessive as Hollywood's golden boy, turning in sweeping epics like Dances with Wolves. Then he stumbled through essential disasters like Waterworld and The Postman. He attempted to make a comeback with status television, Yellowstone, and ambitious art initiatives like Horizon. However, those lawsuits and unresolved feuds are beginning to overshadow the paintings itself. For Costner, the stakes have by no means been better. And this time, it's now not just about field office numbers. It is about responsibility. What are your thoughts on Baumgartner's new guy? Share your thoughts with us in the feedback under. Take into account to love, share, and subscribe. Additionally, click the following video shown on your screen.